Hi guys, we're back, and we have exciting news. We have guests this episode. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
This one is Bird.
Yes.
Hello. I've been told I sound very similar to Holly, so yeah, hopefully you don't get us too confused.
Or hopefully we both say really cool, interesting things that it's cool if you get us confused.
Yeah, that one's Holly.
If you hear someone saying something really cool and interesting, it's probably Holly, even if it's actually Bird.
Hello, my name is Eve.
Welcome, Eve. We are all new. Well, I'm mostly new. I'm back.
Yeah, so new faces or new voices this time. Do you guys want to list out like your identities so just the audience has an idea?
Okay, I'll go over again what I identify as, because I don't honestly remember anyone. I don't honestly expect anyone to remember. I hardly remember myself most days. Let's see. Currently, it fluctuates, but currently I am settled in the biromantic asexual label. Don't hold me to that, please. It might be panromantic tomorrow.
I am a full asexual, I guess, gray aromantic, in that I only feel romantic attraction every few years tops. And my pronouns are she, her, but I am agender. I just am assigned female at birth and cannot be bothered to change what I'm used to hearing.
Hi, my name is Eve, and I think I identify as a gender. And I use he, him, and they, them pronouns, and I'm asexual. And, well, sometimes I identify as agender, but sometimes non-binary, so I use the label trixic, which basically means a non-binary person who is romantically attracted to women, but, not exclusively. And that's all I have to say.
And I am heteromantic asexual. I think I've said that every episode now, so hopefully you guys know. So I think just because of the nature of this podcast, we're definitely going to rehash some stuff that we've said previously, which is fine. You guys can listen to us ramble about the same things over and over again. There's a handful of stereotypes surrounding asexuality, and the stereotypes, like pretty much any other stereotype, are often very much far from the truth, and they can be very damaging. So today we're going to hopefully shed some light on these stereotypes and why they can be damaging. I think the first one to knock out of the way is asexual. We're not plants. We're not bacteria. It's an orientation. We do not mitosis. I don't know why this is a thing that has to be stated, but it is, because people are...
Can I cut in as a English literature language major over here about the nature of words and exactly how we're supposed to use them? Words are there to be used. They are there for a purpose, and if they have a purpose, then that is fine. If there is no purpose, then they drop out of public favor. They drop out of usage. Now, in terms of things like grammar, in terms of things like standard English, and which words mean what, which words go in what Oxford Dictionary, that all comes from elitism in a way. That all comes from wanting to have a universal language that everyone basically understands and can communicate by. It is for the purpose of practicality. None of it is more legitimate than any other. No meaning is for a word is more legitimate than other words. No grammar is more legitimate than any other grammar. You can have terrible grammar. If people understand you, it's generally accepted, right? So the only reason you correct someone on their grammar, you correct someone on their word usage, is if you're trying to make yourself appear superior. That's why we hate grammar Nazis, right? It's like, if you understand me, why must I put an apostrophe there? You know my meaning, you know my point, But if there's a mistaken understanding, then that's where, we get into the nitty-gritty. But usually we can be understood, and usually it's not a problem. So if you absolutely insist on ace meaning plants, asexual meaning plants, bacteria, that sort of thing, that is your problem. That is not our problem, okay? That is simply because you refuse to accept the fact that a word can mean two different things. It's a language thing. Take it from a language person, please.
It's also kind of funny because literally the word gay meant an entirely different thing.
Yeah.
We very easily, we so easily and quickly shifted and we're like, oh, okay, gay means this. These people have defined their own terms. So it's kind of funny when people are like, don't use the word asexual, it's for this other meaning. Like,
no, they're just being pedantic. They're just, they don't have any good reasons to protest, so they're picking something, anything, to raise a fuss about. That's what it is.
Just, exactly. You just want to be mad at me. Just because I don't feel sexual attraction.
Okay, so now we've laid down that yes, people can be asexual. We are not anything else. More stereotypes. We're virgins, we can't have sex, we're celibate, or prudish. I, for one, am a virgin because I am underage, under the age of consent, but I know that not everyone that is speaking today is.
Well, I'm a virgin too, don't look at me.
Okay. Do we have anybody that isn't?
I am 30 years old. I will be 31 in a couple of weeks. I am emphatically not a virgin. Not that age is an indicator, but I did not discover the word asexuality until long after I had been in sexual relationships, which I don't regret either.
Also, well, there's nothing really wrong with, like, thinking sex is bad, but not all asexual people feel that way. Like, you have, like, sexual, like, indifferent, and then there's some who are adverse, and there's some who are positive about it, but just don't feel it. And I feel like all three forms are valid. So the stereotype, it's not harmful to me, because that is true in my case, but it's harmful to those of us who are not sexually adverse, if that makes any sense. But it is harmful overall, because I'm not everyone.
People who are sex neutral and sex positive, it can be.
For me, I definitely didn't realize for a long time that I could even call myself asexual, or that it perfectly described me. And so I ended up just thinking I was a broken heterosexual, because I really also believed that asexuality was aversion to sex. And as soon as I realized, oh, I can have, like, libido, and I can have sex with partners and still not feel sexual attraction, and I've never felt it in my entire life, and that's the reason I felt broken. So that's kind of why the stereotype becomes harmful, is it does prevent people like me from understanding the terms and finding a community that supports us, because we are used to the stereotype of, oh, well, if you have sex or if you enjoy physical sensations, then you're not asexual.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is not exactly the same, because I still technically haven't dated anyone, but I am sort of... Okay, if any of you are wondering why I'm making an appearance on this podcast at all, it's because I met Dana over on OkCupid. So,
Nice.
That should tell you exactly what sort of, like, bi-romantic, heteromantic, whatever. I still haven't decided what my label is. Okay, but as someone who thinks dating could be fun, I was, like, sort of in the process of thinking, hey, it might be alright to find a person who would be willing to date without the sex stuff. And there was so many people asking for hookups, and then there were so many people who were like, okay, this one very interesting, not very nice experience was, I think this person was wanting to have a talk with me before I went to work, and they had my number too. So we basically just, like, sat down somewhere. It was pretty isolated, and the guy was like, so do you want to make out? And I was like, we've known each other for a day. What do you mean? And then he goes, I will make you so happy. It's like, we will have, like, such great sex and stuff. And I'm just sort of like, okay, this is about time I drop the ace bomb. I wouldn't usually think that this is necessary until we've known each other like a week, but you're the one who moved up the schedule, so here we go. So I basically told him what being ace means. He didn't know what it meant. I had to do the whole spiel, and then he was just like, oh, that's because you've never been with the one, so on, stereotypes, right? And then I told him, like, I tried to like relate to the fact that he's straight and everything, and I think he was close to accepting it later on, but I accidentally mentioned libido. I accidentally mentioned that yes, I do have libido, and he was just like, oh, but then like you'll be into it. You'll be into it. I'm just, dude. So I just stood up and walked away at that point. There was no reasoning anymore. I don't want to anymore. I don't want to have that conversation. I'm done here. Point being that it is such a sticking point for allos, is such a sticking point for people who are not in the community. The idea that you can be a sex positive ace, like they just don't get that. And they don't get that like being able to have romantic attraction is not the same as ace. So
they also expect every asexual to be, well, not only that, but a professional speaker on, like, and know all of the scientific terminology and know all of the, like, statistics and crap, and you're like, no, like, do you expect anyone who's, like, a lesbian to explain to you the statistics of being a lesbian or be able to, like, give you a PowerPoint presentation on their sexuality? No. Like, we're just people. We're still figuring it out, too. I don't know why I feel romantic attraction. Trust me, I wish I knew. I wish I could, like, plan for it. I don't know. It just kind of happens sometimes and takes over my brain for a bit. And it's especially weird because it's only, like, every few years. I'm like, what is wrong with me? So, like, yeah, it's really unfortunate that aces kind of bear the weight of having to explain things to other people when half the time we're still figuring it out ourselves.
It's definitely a good point. The stereotype that Bird mentioned offhanded, all aces are aro ace. Not true.
Yes.
I've mentioned that I am heteromantic asexual. Bird is biromantic. I'm not sure about Holly is gray romantic, correct? Yes?
I'm gray romantic. I actually have been exploring the possibility that I'm biromantic and basically deconstructing a lot of like heteronormative internalized behaviors that I've always, had. So that's sort of like a learning process for me right now. But previously I identified as heteroromantic and now I'm unsure.
And Eve is
Trixic.
Trixic, right?
You know what that is, or did you want me to explain it?
I'm going to Google it.
To females?
Yeah.
Or feminine aspects?
Yeah, basically.
So many micro labels. Is that considered a micro label?
Well, no, because, like, I can't really be gay, because I'm not.
Right, yeah, that's true. Because all those labels, gay and lesbian, define
your gender as well.
Yeah, define your gender, which can be a little bit restrictive.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point that I hadn't really previously considered, so I'm glad that you're here talking.
Yeah.
Oh, while we're on the topic, I feel like we should take the time to maybe really go over exactly what romantic attraction is and what sexual attraction is, because...
Should we go over that again? Yeah, I think
so.
Did
we already talk about that in previous
Briefly?
episodes?
We were supposed to have an episode on, like, the split attraction model later on, but it probably would be good to just define these terms briefly. Yeah. Honestly, you can't go around asking a bunch of aces what the heck sexual attraction is, because none of us know.
Unless you want a really funny time. Like, we have a lot of food analogies and a lot of, we come up with some really creative solutions for trying to understand something we've never felt.
Yeah.
It's a fun... I feel like any allos looking on to, like, ace Reddits are probably just laughing. Like, aw, they're trying.
As far as romantic attraction goes, honestly, I don't even know. I'm hetero-romantic.
I'll take a stab at it.
Okay,
the way I've sort of been seeing it is the idea that you want to be in like this sort of committed relationship without the sex, like just basically everything, but without the sex, like that's how it is for me. But maybe for other people, it's like for aro people, it's a little bit more like, no, just friendship is good. Like there's no need for the hand holding or the, I don't know, flower giving. What even constitutes as a romantic?
For me, the way that I know when it's romantic attraction is, first of all, like Similarly to how people say when they fantasize when they have sexual attraction about someone, I fantasize about someone, but in entirely non-sexual situations. So I fantasize a lot about people having conversations with me about like someone saying, I have feelings for you, or something like that. And I can't help myself but fantasize about having a conversation like that with someone I'm romantically attracted to. And the other thing that I notice personally is I can spend a lot of time with that person and not feel like worn out. Whereas with like my family and my best friends even, I get really socially worn out very easily. I can only spend so much time with people before really needing to like step back and recharge. But with someone I'm romantically attracted to, I could be around them forever. I really just like want them to be in my daily life kind of feeling.
You know, to that effect, like, how do you think this might differ between introverts and extroverts?
True, very true.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. I would consider myself more of an introvert, which is odd because I'm hosting this podcast. But yeah, definitely spending time with someone that I consider that I feel romantic attraction to is a lot less taxing. I do agree on that point. I don't get the flowers. I don't get the hand holding.
No.
And I'm not sure I relate to the whole fantasy thing that Holly was talking about. But yeah, I can spend time with that person.
Can I say something? So I have autism, which, like, according to the person who, like, was helping me to get diagnosed, it's usually more difficult for people on the spectrum to, like, understand things about themselves, so I really don't even know if I'm ace. I'm just saying that, but I feel that way. But, like, is it weird? I feel like whenever I interact with people, I, like, sometimes mix romantic attraction with, like, platonic attraction, so I'm just, like, constantly confused.
It's hard, yeah.
Yeah. Being ace is very difficult.
Sounds like altruist.
I don't think that my autism helped at all.
Well,
You kind of sound like you're experiencing altruist attraction.
What is that?
Where there's no distinction between platonic and romantic attraction.
Interesting. I'm gonna research that after this. Thanks for telling me about that. That's cool.
Yep.
also, I do want to kind of throw in there that, you know, you had said something along the lines of, I'm not sure if I'm actually ace, but you are. Like, it doesn't matter if someone is born ace, becomes ace due to, you know, extreme traumatic event, has any sort of medical condition that contributes to them. If they don't feel sexual attraction, they are ace. Or if they feel it very rarely, they're on the spectrum. And, you know, I think that going back into the stereotype things, it's really common for autism-coded asexual stereotypes to be put together. But I think a lot of people forget that many autistic people are not asexual, and it actually, like, desexualizes. It's a very, like, ableist thing that happens to desexualize anything, or desexualize anyone for any sort of way they're born. And so, being autistic and asexual, people look at that and think, oh, well, that's the reason. But is it? You know, there's so many people that break that mold that I think a lot of times we're just trying to find a reason for something that's just the way we're born.
Yeah.
And also,
well
sorry, to tack onto that,
That's
this is hopefully a very brief point. I just wanted to say that sexuality is fluid. You do not need to be ace for the rest of your life. If you say you're ace now, you are ace now. If you say you're no longer ace tomorrow, that is perfectly fine. We do not need for any sort of gatekeeping. We are all discovering ourselves. If you're unsure, that is totally cool. But if this is a label you feel most comfortable with, by all means, we do not hold an exclusive right to what things are called. Language.
Yeah, tack on to that. Stereotype that all aces are traumatized by like a terrible experience in their early childhood, so that's why they're afraid of sex. No, that is totally not true. I, for one, have had very fortunate to have a very good childhood, very good parents. I'm coded this way. It's not because of any trauma.
I don't like even with what you said, like, afraid of sex, not all asexual people are even sex adverse anyway, so inherently that stereotype falls apart.
Exactly. And again, most people with trauma don't become asexual.
Right.
And it's kind of hurtful to them to say, to anyone who's asexual because of trauma, to say, oh, it's because of trauma and can be fixed, because that becomes then offensive to, or problematic for asexual people who, quote, can't be fixed. If someone is not feeling sexual attraction or feeling it extremely rarely, they're asexual. It doesn't, matter if trauma is something that caused that, but the vast majority of us have not had traumatic experiences that led us to asexuality.
This is the thing about arguing for childhood trauma, is it's so easy to slip into like a Freudian perspective. Okay, to anyone who knows anything about Freud, it is a disturbing world that guy lives in.
Yeah.
It is a disturbing world. So yeah, if you want to slip into that and you could bring up anything saying like, oh, you have an oral fixation because something when you were 6 months old. Like, There's no arguing against it. Like, obviously you can't remember what you were doing when you were 6 months old. You ask your parents and they're paranoid about doing everything wrong. Like, that's just the way parents are. So if you say to someone like you're ace because yada yada from your infancy, like, let's not do that. That cannot be scientifically supported, and that's why Freud is like not academic today. No one talks about. Well, you kind of talk about him to have a foundation, but no one actually takes anything he says seriously
no one really
anymore.
respects his theories very much.
Yeah, so like, I guess aside from occasions where trauma is like very clear and definite, aside from cases, like rather rare cases, I would say like everyone else mentioned, the vast majority of us are not traumatized. And if you want to bring up something infancy, then I'm afraid we will have to discard that argument.
Yeah. Furthermore, it's silly to say that trauma affected it, because like my first experience with realizing I was asexual was not having a crush on a Backstreet Boy. That doesn't really sound like PTSD to me. Yeah. I had a crush on a cartoon, on Arnold from Hey Arnold, which I don't know how old you guys are, but he was really hot. He was great. No. But like, yeah, that I don't know. I feel like if I were traumatized somehow in childhood, that it would come out a lot more, distinctly than just like, oh, I feel like playing sports instead of having a crush. I don't know.
Yeah. Some trauma, I don't know, like, not all trauma is like recognized, but like the people who it's being inflicted upon, they might just like normalize it. Like, I have a friend whose like mom like domestically abuses her, and she just normalized it. So I don't, like, it's kind of impossible to say that all ace people are traumatized. I don't know. That stereotype doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it falls apart when you scrutinize it. Also, the trauma ties into mental illness. Asexuality is not a mental illness. But the thing is, this was very recently rectified, because it was rectified in 2013, which is 7 years ago. From the DSM, they changed it to exclude people who self-identified as asexual from having a hypoactive sexual desire disorder, which, thank goodness that's been changed, because that's a big step in normalizing, or at least not thinking of us as freaks or robots or dehumanizing us. I was doing some research for this episode yesterday night, and I found a very surprising statistic. Aces are the most likely to go through conversion therapy, which I hear about like gay conversion therapy all the time, but you don't hear about ace conversion therapy. As far as the numbers go, ace people, about 10% go through conversion therapy, homosexuals 7.6, queer people, as just like a blanket term, 7.4, pan 6.6, bi 5.2, and others 7.6, which is that was surprising to me.
To me, that's not as like surprising. I don't know if that's negative or not, but like growing up, most of the time whenever I would like watch movies or TV shows and like the characters would be going on a date, almost immediately after there would either be like a sex scene or it would be insinuated that it happened. So I feel like the idea of not having sex or being ace almost it's worse than like the way that people feel about being gay, maybe. I'm not really surprised by the fact that ace conversion therapy happens more often than gay conversion therapy.
For me, this is definitely pretty personal in that I've not gone to like official conversion therapy or anything like that, but like many other aces who didn't know the terminology, I've very much forced myself into conversion therapy when I was younger, in that I've put myself into situations that I was not comfortable with but didn't have the vocabulary to understand that it was natural and normal for me not to feel comfortable in those situations. I do want to preface this with, I was with people who were really great, and I was never pressured by them to do anything I didn't want to do, but I did it to myself. I would, even just in my mind, like, I would try and force myself to fantasize sexually about people that I didn't. Yeah, so I think I can definitely understand the conversion therapy thing being more common for aces, because because it's not, or at least when I was younger, it was not educated about whatsoever in schools. I had zero idea that what I was feeling was normal, and I really thought that I needed to be changed. I remember being disappointed, actually, when my hormones were perfect and my physical exams were perfect. I even had brain scans. Like, I really wanted so bad to just fix what I thought was a problem. And when I finally found out, oh, it's not a problem, I'm just lacking sexual attraction, just that one thing, it changed everything. It was amazing.
And that's why visibility is so important.
Yes.
I think either I or Eve were the youngest ones here. And even for me, going through like sex ed in middle school and high school, I don't think they even touched on like LGBTQ, even the G, even being gay, that was never touched upon. You hear about it just from like classmates and the internet, but never like through formal education, which is really, really disappointing.
Yes.
Where I live, they covered it, but like, it was really only like the more popular groups that you hear about of the LGBTQ. Like, they didn't cover asexuality or like less popular ones that are still valid, like non-binary. What did you say?
Did they cover being bi or like pan?
They really only covered like the L, G, and T, and not even the non-binary part.
Wow.
Yeah. So they still have a lot to work on.
Maybe we're making some progress.
Everything in my sex ed from when I was a kid, they pretty much phrase it like, you're going to have sexual feelings for people. The thing that might be different is who you have sexual feelings for, but you're gonna have them. Everyone's gonna have it. It's natural, it's human, all that stuff. And so I really just thought like, oh, I need to like kickstart this, or like something is wrong with me because I'm not even feeling those. Yeah, it's poor
and
tiny me.
a lot of people do present it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just an integral part of being human.
Right, and so, yeah.
It's really dehumanizing for us.
Yes, and I mean, back kind of in the dehumanizing stereotype of like alien or robot or not ice. I remember being called cold when I was in high school. People were like, oh, you're cold, like I've heard of aces being called like ice queen or like things like that. But I'm not. I'm really warm and sociable and affectionate. I love people. I just don't pick up on sexual attraction and don't like admit it, I guess, and that to people seems, cold.
Yeah, we're compared to robots and plants, and if there's any ace media, it's normally not a human character. It's like aliens, it's something else entirely. And ace representation in media is already pretty low as it is, so that's just not helping.
Or it's like a facet of a psychopathic villain, right? Like, they are incapable of feeling anything toward other people, let alone love, and that's why they're shown as asexual. Like, no, it's not.
Another one that I've seen is, I don't know if anyone here likes Harry Potter, but I don't think it's official, but like Newt Scamander might be. But then also people are also like he might also have autism, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, directly linking those two things that's harmful.
Yes.
Can I bring up House? I almost feel bad about bringing up House, but I feel like we can't get through this topic without mentioning at least a little the actual catastrophe that was the House episode with the asexual couple. Like, the thing is apparently in an interview, the writer for that episode was saying she wanted to bring representation, but then because of the nature of it being sort of Sherlock but a doctor, they had to make it so that there's like a bit of a discovery and that House had to be correct, and House is just the kind of asshole to be like, this sexual orientation is not real and I will prove it. Like, the whole setup was such garbage.
Yeah.
Not real.
Correct.
I mean, I think we exist, right? We are very real.
I can't prove that I exist, personally.
I think therefore I am.
Yeah. Was it Plato or is it Socrates that said that?
That was Descartes, right?
Oh, Descartes. Yeah, it is.
Rene Descartes of the Cartesian plane.
Uh-huh.
The dualism.
Nice. Solid. Solid ref.
So, apparently, if we don't exist, then we're secretly gay. It's also a stereotype. No.
Oh my god, yes.
No, we're not secretly gay.
By the way, that's a stereotype that I and many aces thought about ourselves too. I know several like male aces that we all went through this thing where it's like, I don't know, everyone's saying I'm gay, maybe I am. Like, are they like picking up on something that I'm not getting? Like, and you like really think about it, you're like, damn, am I gay? Like, how do I figure that out? No, we're not. It's not the thing.
I just remember, like, every single time they have those questionnaire forms and it's just pick your orientation. And they're like, do I put straight? Do I put questioning? Do I put bi? Someone toss a coin for me.
Speaking of, there's also a stereotype there are no ace guys, which is, no, that's not true. Although I don't think we have anyone that strictly identifies as male here today. In our podcast team, there are a few guys on our team. Definitely.
A male voice would probably convince most people. You have someone male sounding.
It's also really sad and so part of the toxic masculinity harm that a lot of ace guys don't even come out or don't feel comfortable coming out because masculinity is so associated with virility and sexual prowess and feeling sexual things. At least, and again, I was assigned female at birth. I grew up most of my life just assuming I was female. Being female or feminine or woman is never, there's so many factors that go into it. I never felt like not being as sexual as my friends was a direct violation of femininity. Whereas a lot of my male ace friends, they're constantly barraged with just comments about their sexuality just constantly from just male friends, oh, look, she's hot, or oh, you just need to get laid, or just so many just microaggressive comments dozens of times every single day just existing in the world, and it was so intense. My male friend that actually is the one who helped me realize I was asexual, after he came out to me, I started noticing us going through the day and how many times a day his sexuality was directly referred to by other people, whereas mine never was. So it's definitely a good topic for an entire episode if you guys ever want to do that.
The gender differences between something.
Yeah, and how each gender is viewed in terms of being ace. I'm going to throw in some numbers because I am very much a math person. Out of all the people that identify as ace, 63 are women, 26% are none of the above, and 11% identify as male. So I see where the stereotype comes from, but also saying that there are none when it is a little over 1 in 10, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
When we say aces, are we referring to the ace spec?
It was a asexual community survey summary report. So, potentially.
Well, I was gonna like speak on the statistic you just gave. I think that's like an issue with like our society because it's like allonormative most of the time.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to like. It was like what Holly said, to like even realize that you are ace or to even come out. So I'm not saying that the statistic is all the way off. It would probably just be like around the same. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like that statistic is conservative.
Like self-reporting, and if you don't know, then you can't report. Is that what you're getting at? Yeah, I think that's a point to mention.
Yeah, I know I have a couple male friends that obviously I am in no position to tell them they are asexual or not, but I believe that they have been questioning and have never actually come out or assigned a label to themselves because of the stigma that is associated with their masculinity. And many of them are also heteroromantic and still have partners and want partners, and I think that goes back into the misunderstanding that asexuality is celibacy.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think in general, even allo men are just oversaturated with the idea that masculinity means you have to be obsessed with sex. And
yeah, it's damaging.
It's very damaging.
Whether or not it's true, that's just damaging.
Yeah.
No,
Also,
I wanted to mention also that I think this made me think of how when gay people started gaining acceptance, you know, and then they were pride parades and everyone being like noticeably gay for once instead of just looking straight but actually being like in the closet.
Yeah.
People like the conservative folk were all, well, you're turning the kids gay. It's like it's just the gay agenda kind of thing. You know, it's like people they were perfectly normal. They were gonna be straight, and now look what you've done. And it's like, no, there are more gay people because gay people feel more comfortable with themselves, with you know, broadcasting their identities. And please don't say that asexual visibility representation is like making everyone go, maybe I'm on the A spectrum. Well, if you think you're on the A spectrum, then you're on the A spectrum. Good for you.
Yeah, I also laugh at those people who say like, oh, they're turning our kids gay, because then you're like, well, would seeing two men kissing make you gay? Is that something that it's so easy to do? Because maybe you're gay, dude. Like,
like not to mention that there's scientific proof it's genetic. Being gay is genetic, and it deals with like just altruism and genes being the ultimate goal of survival.
If indoctrination worked, then we could turn them straight again. That's not.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like, this isn't how it works. It's not a choice. Asexuality is not a choice either. We do not choose to not be part of the norm in this regard.
It's not a phase. It's
no.
not a choice. It's
just it's an orientation.
It's an that's it.
Yeah, like I'm very happy with being ace. I never really had I really wish I was normal and I felt this. Maybe like if there was like a pill or something I could take to experience what the heck sexual attraction feels like for a short duration of time. Yeah, maybe, but I don't think I would permanently like to change my aceness. Yeah. I quite like not feeling sexual attraction.
I really feel that too. There's so many. Yeah, there's so many people who. I'm so sorry. I keep interrupting you, Bird. Go ahead.
I'll try and decide now whether. Okay, you finish your point, and then I'll bring this up because I came across this very interesting article.
Okay. I was just gonna say I also love being ace, and I know so many people just like want to be quote normal, but I don't know, like I spent so much wasted time in my life trying to fit in or trying to force feelings, and now that I like know that it's because of asexuality, now I almost like fear ever feeling sexual attraction. Like, oh god, it seems so awful and overbearing, and I don't think I could handle it. I already have like ADHD and like, you know, sensitivity to stimuli. I don't want to like all of a sudden be walking around and just like feeling things in my loins. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
That's kind of funny. Okay, so this is what I wanted to bring up earlier as I was searching, because you mentioned conversion therapy, and and I was like, I didn't know that was a problem for aces, but it makes sense in a way. And apparently there is a pill that marketed specifically towards women, alright? Not even men. It's specifically marketed towards women. And what is it called? It's called filibusterin, or Adil. And the idea is that, like, it apparently would react badly to testosterone, so trans women, be careful. And also NDDI, neonephrine dopamine disinhibitor. I don't know what that means. NDDIs are antidepressants, apparently.
Oh,
Drug
so,
has
like,
seen...
not SSRI.
The drug has seen mild success. Oh, and it also failed FDA approval twice.
Oh, that's
Which is
concerning.
Classic.
Which doesn't sound like it's very good. Right now, they've seen only 0.5% between taking this drug and placebo. So it doesn't really work.
Yeah. That's very... No.
Oh, it also works in the brain, not the genitals. So, like, they're just saying something's wrong with your head?
I mean, ace people can have sex. It's not like...
Oh, and if you take it,
we
you
have
can never drink
problems
alcohol
with-
again.
I mean, what a winning combination of
Yeah.
it probably won't work, you can never drink alcohol, and you can't be on antidepressants of any kind, and also you can have, no testosterone. But
Yeah, just so many caveats there. It's awful.
I feel like it's almost just like coincidence if it ever did work. Just like,
Exactly. Yeah. I think a few more things to go over. Demi people. Demisexuals and demi-romantic. That's normal, and you just want to feel special. No. No, that's not the case.
This goes right back into the stereotype that asexuals are, it's a choice, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Demisexuals, don't necessarily wait to have sex until they have sexual attraction. B, may not even want to have sex after feeling sexual attraction. And C, it's not about whether or not they want or don't want to have sex, it's about whether they feel or don't feel sexual attraction. That's what makes someone demisexual. They only feel it after developing a strong bond with someone, then they feel sexual attraction to them. Again,
Yes.
They may choose to have sex before, they may choose not to have sex after. The having sex is an action, it's a choice, but feeling sexual attraction is never a choice.
Yeah, that's well put. So they're basically asexual until that connection has been built and that threshold has been passed.
Yes.
Allosexuals, on the other hand, feel that attraction right away and then choose not to act upon that urge.
Right.
It's very distinct. And I think we'll cover more demisexuality stuff later on. It's also, you're too young to know that you're ace because you haven't experienced enough yet, or just because young people are all inexperienced and stupid. And also, you haven't had sex yet, so how would you know? Questionable.
Personally, I love that you haven't had sex yet, because if you have had sex, then the response is, but you've had sex, how can you be asexual?
Exactly. It's like,
it's just like setting you up for failure.
Hello, what do you want? It's very contradictory. There's also a stereotype that aces are really young, so I don't know how any of those fit together. They're directly contradictory.
The ace community is very young, let's put it like that.
Yeah. Because
So
it's an internet orientation and stuff.
Yeah, so it's on the internet. You can't really expect too many 40, 50-year-olds on the internet in an internet community. I'm sure they're there.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
I was checking out our podcast demographics the other day. We've got a few 45 plus listeners, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, I don't know, just, you can't blame the demographic for being on the young side when, it's just the nature of it. You'll have to wait for time to pass before...
Yeah.
You'll have to wait for a stage. And then we can be like, there are old
most
people.
of the information is on the internet, and it's amazing that young people have access to it. beautiful. It's something to be like treasured and you know, encouraged. Furthermore, like, you would never say to a kid who is having like homosexual thoughts, you're too young to know. You would say,
some people
okay,
do that, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. But it's like, you know, you'd encourage them, hey, explore these feelings. You know, maybe don't explore them sexually yet because you're young and, you know, be safe. But explore these feelings within you and see how you feel. And no one should judge anyone for maybe thinking they were gay turning out to be bi, or thinking they were straight and turning out to be gay. Everyone's just figuring themselves out, you know? It's
right. You would never go up to a hetero person and go, how do you know you're hetero? Have you had
You've never had sex
with the same gender? Yeah. Like, you can't call yourself hetero, you don't know.
And then they have it.
Yeah,
you're not hetero.
Right.
You've been with someone of the same gender, no. The thing is, we have a bunch of free time because we're not busy with sex. No.
Oh, say that to my lack of free time. I love that.
I'm not saying we do anything productive with that free time, but
yeah, exactly. Like, I didn't.
Like, it's harmful to like allo people because it just insinuates they also spend all their time having sex. It's harmful to everyone.
Right.
Yeah, it's harmful to everyone. Like, it's just, and it's not true. Like, I actually, with doing the notes for this episode, I didn't start on them until the day before, and then I continued to do them past midnight on the day of. So no, we don't have free time, and if we do, it's just maybe I'm bad at prioritizing my time and time management, which is something
also,
I need to work on.
Unless your job is literally like sex worker or porn star, most of your time is not spent having sex. Like, even if it's that tiny amount of time that's, quote, saved, you know, you're probably not, I don't know your partner, but I'm guessing they're not going to be like more than like half an hour or so is like the average. So like, I don't see why.
I'm wondering if you want to include, say, masturbation into that time, or like time spent trying to find a partner, because the assumption is...
Oh yeah, that might, it should be included, I think. Yeah.
One
we
of
don't
the
work on it seductively, at least.
One of the responses I got when I came out was a friend who I love, who's very sweet, and I just had to kind of like inform him a little bit, but he literally reacted by saying, "Man, I wish I never got horny. I would get so much more done." And I'm like, yeah, same, dude. Like, I wish I never got horny either, but that's not what asexuality is. I actually have like a weirdly high libido, and it's annoying sometimes, but I still get horny. It's not a factor for me personally.
But it's not directed at anything.
No, I mean, it'll be like I'll be washing dishes, you know, and just be like, "Whoa, what's happening?" You know. Just like listening to music. I don't know.
One of the last things we're gonna go over, so we're running short on time. We don't belong in LGBTQ plus spaces. This is controversial. Shouldn't be, but it is for some reason.
I think, like, usually, like, especially the L and G, they're really, like, sexualized for some reason. I really don't know why.
Part of, like, gay culture or whatever.
Yeah.
Over-sexualized.
But, I mean, I still feel comfortable.
Fetishize that stuff.
I still feel comfortable being in that space, though.
Terrible for them. Yeah. Also, the extended acronym is LGBTQIA, and the A does not stand for ally.
I've talked about this recently on Reddit, but saying that asexuals don't belong in LGBTQ plus spaces is like saying Alaska shouldn't be part of America. Okay, but it is. So, like, it's too late for that. There's no... You can hate it, you can wish that it wasn't a part of it, but, like, it is, so...
Yeah. I think exclusionists make that argument because we are not oppressed enough. As if the LGBTQ plus community was the oppression Olympics, which is a term we'll hear often.
we also know that as soon as LGBT people get all of their rights, they will disband and no longer exist. That's the goal, right?
Really?
You know?
I don't think we'll disband.
No, that's what I'm saying. I guess that's sort of my point is, if it has to do with oppression, then as soon as you guys stop being oppressed, then you just don't need to exist anymore. Like, no. It's community. That's what it is.
The good news is like 90+% of LGBT people say that we do belong in the community.
Yes.
And also heteromantic aces, which I do identify as heteromantic asexual, are more likely to be excluded because we are very straight passing. I have never had any of my friends question whether or not I'm straight. I believe they all believe that I'm straight. And I am not out to most of my in real life friends. So it's gonna be fun.
I don't know why the word straight is used as a colloquial term, but like, if all sexualities were lines, heterosexual is like a straight line, and then like the allosexual ones that aren't heterosexual, they're like variations of curvy lines maybe, and then asexual is just like a singular point.
Yeah, right.
It's not even on the chart, yeah.
Yeah.
They were all still drawn, they're all still valid. I don't like heteroromantic aces, they're not heterosexual, they're asexual. It's not asexual isn't heterosexual, but again, it's not the same thing.
Heteroromantic aces don't even have close to the same experiences as heterosexuals.
Yeah.
It's too different. And also, as far as like the straight passing thing goes, I really think it varies depending on ace, because I've only had male partners and I'm visibly someone who looks female, and people have constantly been convinced that I was gay, repressed or in the closet, even partners that are like, because we don't respond to the opposite sex the way that is expected. So straight passing is really just like, I mean, there's a lot of gay people that are straight passing too. They're still, part of the LGBTQ community, but I think that people think aces are straight passing a lot more often than they actually are.
Yeah, definitely. Straight passing's not always a good thing. Like, it's a good thing if you're in an unsafe situation, but otherwise then it just turns into erasure. How do you pronounce that word? And
erasure.
Like, oppression. Yeah, erasure and like oppression and stuff. And like, speaking of like not being oppressed enough, this might be like a bit of a depressing note. Corrective rape is a thing, and it's very sad that it's a thing. And like the whole, you just haven't done it with me yet, I can fix you. No, you cannot. This isn't how any of this works. And it's not something that needs fixing.
I thought when you were bringing up conversion therapy earlier, I thought that's what you were talking about. Is that a different thing?
I believe it is different. I think,
conversion therapy includes corrective rape, but it also includes a lot of like subliminal messaging and like shame-based hate speech to basically shame someone into not feeling what they feel.
I would say, I don't know, I would say conversion therapy is much more of a formalized setting from what I've gathered. Like, if you go to a therapist's office, they aren't about to corrective rape you, you know what I mean? Like, they'll sit you down, they'll talk, like, they'll just give you some pill, or something along those lines. But in terms of corrective rape, that's like that makes me think of that criminal defense that people can bring up about how trans panic, where like gay panic and trans panic, or like if you murder like a transgender woman or something, then you can like say that, oh my gosh, like I was just driven briefly insane, and then they'll not make you go to jail or something stupid.
You still murdered a person.
Corrective rape, in my opinion, is like much more of a vigilanteist, misguided, harmful, damaging, emotional response and denial of like another person when they tell you that they're not into you, and you're just like, well, I'll make you be into me, and no, please.
No. Yeah. Okay, so all stereotypes. These are all been pretty negative. I guess we're gonna try not to end on a very depressing note, because that was really quite depressing. More positive ones. I don't want to say these are stereotypes, because they're really more just like inside jokes that we have with the ace community. Cake, garlic bread, dragons. Also space.
Personally, I think my favorite kind of stereotype that's positive of aces is that we're really like cool or like aloof. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like cool in the classic sense of like we're like
I get
the
called
fawns.
nonchalant.
Yeah, we just like don't
really
care
nice.
about things that everyone's obsessed with, and like, yeah, you know, we are cool. Not we're all like huge nerds. But it's cool that people think we're cool.
Yeah. Also, we get all the cake and garlic bread, which garlic bread is superior to everything, and so is cake. And
I'm
like
a
dragons.
celiac, so
Yeah,
no
we're
comment.
so cool.
Yeah, dragons
Ace
are
pride.
the best.
Yes.
You know, since you guys brought it up, what's your favorite flavor of cake?
Ooh. Lemon?
Chocolate.
Lemon.
Anything gluten-free because I'm allergic, but I don't actually really like cake. I'm so sorry, you guys. I am so sorry.
You like garlic bread
God.
at least.
I don't really like garlic bread. I'm also allergic to it. It's because
Oh
bread.
no.
Yeah. I love macarons and mochi. So
Oh yes.
Valid,
go.
very valid.
rice
I'm
flour
hungry now.
now.
Yeah. Alright. We've been recording for over an hour now. Time to wrap things
Nice.
up. Thank you for listening. If you would like to see behind the scenes stuff, you can follow us on Instagram at Knights of Nope, and also Reddit, u/Knights of Nope. You can also email us at acasualexchange. We would love to hear from you. Send us any comments and concerns or questions. And if you would like to be a guest on this podcast, also just DM us or email us. So yeah, I think that's all. And we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
A Casual Exchange was created by the Knights of Nope, hosted by Allie, produced and edited by Dana. All music used can be found in the description.